Keep yourself in the loop of everything football. Listen to Alex and Jeremiah on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello there, I'm Jeremiah.
I am Alex, always and forever here.
Dedicated to college and NFL football. The latest football news on and off the field. NFL draft trade rumors. We've got you covered from the NFL, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything else in between. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we discuss the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football from the latest science research, breakout stars, and all the news in between. As always, I'm Jeremiah.
My name is Ben, and my friend, you seem to always just do that fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And I gotta tell you every time, just so you know. But you seem to always do just a great job.
When are you gonna do the intro? You've never done it one time.
I mean, if it ain't broken, don't fix it, right?
You know what? I agree.
You know, why ruin such a good thing? I'll just let you tackle that one. I
see what you did there.
No pun intended there. But anyways, as Jeremiah mentioned, this is the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we will be talking a lot of football. So we're going to talk some Thursday night football action. Last night, the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens battled. Talk about the rest of the NFL Week 10 schedule. And we will end the show talking some college football. Not too much on the landscape on paper, but there's definitely some good talking points we have to talk about after each week the college football playoff rankings come out. There's always great storylines come out of there. So, my friend, I know you were at a basketball game last night, so you did not get to watch the game, but I guess it's kind of a treat you didn't get to because there wasn't much to watch.
Yeah, you can say that.
I mean, oh, man. Yeah, just on paper, the Browns and the Ravens doesn't really get me too excited, but I mean, anyways.
I think just the fact that the Browns were playing on national television did not get me excited at all. I was at the Kings and Lakers game at the new Go-to-One Center here in Sacramento.
How'd you like it?
Really nice building.
Are you a Laker fan or a Kings fan?
I am a Laker fan. I grew up a Laker fan. It was an incredible atmosphere. Great building. Like, I was in the upper deck in the second, the 200 section. Man, you can still see really good, and you still have a giant TV in front of your face.
Yeah, I've been there once. I haven't gone for a game. I went for like a tour of the arena, but I've gone like up close and personal, gone underground. It's really nice. Yeah, they did a really good job.
Yeah, so. It gets really loud when the Kings are doing good, and when they're not, Laker fans are getting loud. I
guess it's not getting too loud so much this season because the Kings aren't really starting off to a good season, which they've kind of done for the past 12 years now. But I mean, I guess there is always time to turn it around. But anyways, let's talk about this Thursday night game. So, I mean, although we did not really get too much out of it from the game, the Ravens do win 28-7 over the Browns. So the Browns do stay winless on the season. The Ravens, whether you think they're a good team or not, they, regardless of what happens this weekend, they will be sitting atop the AFC North. So Joe Flacco throws for 296, 3 touchdowns. They did have a couple of interceptions, but nevertheless, they do beat the Browns by 21. A game where the Browns actually led at halftime, 7-6. So yet again, I mean, that's not much of a lead, but still, yet again, they have a lead, and then the rails completely fall off from there.
Yeah, and the Browns had a quarterback change in this game. I think they go 0-10. I think they're the first team to do that in a while.
Since the Lions, I believe, when they went 0-16 prior to Matthew Stafford being there. So I think you're right. I mean, you mentioned the quarterback change, and I didn't really understand it. So Cody Kessler started the game, and then he was replaced early in the second half by Josh McCown. So Kessler was 11 of 18 for 91 yards and 1 touchdown. So that's not absolutely fantastic, but it's not terrible. He didn't turn the ball over. You bring in Josh McCown, who literally did the exact opposite of Cody Kessler. 6 of 13, 59 yards. He had 2 interceptions. He also fumbled the ball. Looked absolutely terrible. I didn't understand why Hugh Jackson took Kessler out of the game. He's He's a young quarterback. He's a rookie. You're maybe seeing if you have some sort of future with him because your season's over. You're already 0-9. You're looking at 0-10. Your season's already over. So why even make that change? It just kind of confused me. I didn't get it.
Yeah, I didn't get it either. And I actually like from what I've seen from Kessler this season. Alex and I talk about all the time. We think maybe the Browns might have something in Kessler. You might disagree with me, Ben. I don't care. I think they have something there in Browns. I think they got to see if they have a future in him. But he looked good yesterday. There was a play, I think in the first quarter, where he extended the play, and it was for a pretty long gain, actually, I think it was to Isaiah Correll. And that was one of the most impressive plays I've seen from Kessler, from him. But, yeah, I don't understand the quarterback change here. You already know what you get in Josh McCown. He's a career backup. Sure, when he gets in there, he's been pretty good. But Kessler was efficient. I think 11-18 and a touchdown for 91 yards is pretty efficient for a young quarterback. I think at the time when you did it, I think the game was still pretty close, I suppose. Yeah, you can't do that if this game is still within reach. Why are you going to make that change all of a sudden? That's something you do when your team is being blown out, third or fourth quarter.
And it wasn't like Kessler was playing bad. He wasn't, like I said, he wasn't lighting it up, but he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't make any mistakes. I don't think Kessler's maybe a franchise quarterback. I think he can be maybe a bridge a couple of years. You look at his stats so far this season, just over 1,200 yards, a completion percentage at 67%, which is pretty good. 6 touchdowns, only 1 interception. So he hasn't been absolutely terrible, and he's not really working with much. His best playmaker on the outside is a guy who used to be a quarterback in Terrell Pryor Sr. He doesn't have Josh Gordon. Gary Barnidge is kind of up and down. The running game's kind of up and down with Duke Johnson and with Isaiah Crowell. So he's not really working with much, and I think he's doing okay. He's doing better than I honestly thought he would be doing at this point. So I didn't really understand the decision. But now you have maybe a couple of weeks away from Robert Griffin even coming back, looking at that scan with his shoulder, see if he can come back. He was throwing some passes last night just on the sidelines. So now you have him to throw into this quarterback carousel. I guess you could say 5 guys, really, because 5 different quarterbacks have played.
And no, we're not talking about 5 guys burgers. We're talking about 5 guys.
Yeah, Charlie Whitehurst, Kevin Hogan. I mean, they're not going to get any playing time unless there's even more injuries than the Browns have had, which will be crazy to think. But so I guess you can throw Robert Griffin III's hat into the mix now. But I think the guy's Kessler. You're 0-10. You got to see if you have a future, because if not, then you're looking at the number 1 or number 2 if they somehow win a couple of games and San Francisco falls to number 1. But I guess you have to say they're the number 1 team, number 1 pick. They're going to be looking at Deshaun Watson from Clemson, Deshaun Kaiser from Notre Dame. Do you look towards a quarterback? If you think Kessler can maybe be that gap, not a really strong quarterback draft class, do you go with a lineman? Do you go with maybe a defensive pass rusher? What do you want to do here? I think you need to figure that out, and I think Kessler's the guy to figure it out. No one else, like you said, Josh McCown's a career backup. You know what you're getting with him. Robert Griffin III can't stay healthy. The guy's got to be Kessler. I just didn't understand why he was replaced. But then again, this is the Browns we're talking about, and we don't understand anything they do.
Maybe they were tanking. Maybe.
What else do you have to tank for? You're already winless.
Maybe they're tanking. I don't know. That's all I can say. Maybe they're tanking. That's all I can say. All you gotta say is trust the process, guys.
They're already winless. What else is there to tank about?
I don't know. Go 0-16.
Well, I mean, they're 0-10 right now. If you look at their remaining schedule, it doesn't get much prettier. I mean, they have Pittsburgh next week. Then they're home against the Giants and Bengals, on the road against the Bills, home against the Chargers, and on the road against the Steelers. Is there a win somewhere in there? I still think they'll win one game. Don't tell me when or how, but I think they'll probably win one of these games. I don't see it coming against Pittsburgh unless maybe in Week 17 the Steelers have a playoff spot wrapped up and there's no need to play some players. Maybe the Chargers, the Bills have kind of dropped off. I don't know, man. I think there's probably a win somewhere, but I just don't know where it is. I thought last night was probably the best chance.
I think Christmas Eve against the San Diego Chargers might be a real good chance for the Browns to get the first win. Send the Cleveland Browns fans with their Christmas present. a win.
Send them with a gift.
Send them with a gift. I think that could be it because, for one, that game is at home. Two, the Chargers are always that team to, have those questionable games, play down to their opponent's level. They have a good offense, but their defense is still questionable. And the Chargers are always like, really? They play like that? So they're like one of those teams. So I think that could be a potential game that the Browns can win. Maybe the New York Giants, because Eli Manning sometimes does Eli Manning things. You have the Eli Manning, the one that has cable. He does a lot of weird things. So what? I don't know what. I don't know.
If the Eli with DirecTV shows up, they're good. But
if the Eli with DirecTV shows up in that game, then the Browns will have no chance of winning. So I might have to go with the game at Christmas Eve because unless Phil Rivers with the DirecTV shows up. So.
And Melvin Gordon's been fantastic for them. Last week against Tennessee, he had over 200 yards from scrimmage. So I don't know, man. I still think there's a win somehow, some way they get it done, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, I think they're still the worst team in the league, and
I think they're the second worst team. I still think the 49ers are the worst team in the league.
Neutral field, these two teams would match up. I would take the Niners because at least you have some sort of an offense. You have like some sort of trickery or confusion with the up tempo and the spread and everything. So I'll probably go with San Francisco in that edge. But I get what you're saying from the Browns. There's people on that team that I would actually mind having on mine. Joe Thomas, a great left tackle. Joe Hayden, a good cornerback. Terrell Pryor is a decent wide receiver. I think he's probably the best one because there's no one else there. But he's okay. There's guys on that team that I would like. San Francisco, maybe not so much. But so now you look at the Ravens, 5-4, atop the division. Although it's not pretty, they are atop the division. Still have a tough schedule coming up. They have Dallas, they have the Bengals, the Patriots, the Steelers again, the Eagles. Do you think they're the best team in this division? Do you think they still hold on to this crown end of the year?
I'm going to get the crown to Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh just has that explosive offense. The Ravens looked even better. The defense has played better this year. I wouldn't be surprised if Baltimore won the division. To be honest, but in my eyes, I think Pittsburgh is still the best team in this division. They got the best running back. Big Ben will finally, when he gets healthy, this offense will make strides. They're one of the most explosive offenses in the league as well. That's why I think they're best division because they can basically just score points. They can outscore people, outscore teams. And I know they didn't play well against Baltimore on last Sunday, but I still think I have to give the edge to Pittsburgh.
I agree with you. I think they're still the best team. I think they'll win the division. I don't take much into last week. Big Ben hadn't practiced in a couple of weeks. I think that was a mistake rushing him out there. I would have maybe rested him last week and got him ready for this game against Dallas, a big game that we'll preview in the next segment. I still think they're the best team, though. Like you mentioned, best running back, best quarterback, best wide receiver, opportunistic defense. I still think they're better. Baltimore, I'm not sold on. They were 3-0. Then they lost their next 4 games. Now they're on a 2-game winning streak. So they're either high or they're low. Couple of tough matchups. I see them probably losing to Dallas, New England, the Steelers again. They have a couple matchups against the Bengals. I see them losing maybe one of that. So that puts them right at around 500 maybe. I still think Pittsburgh's the best team. I think they'll get the division by the end of the year. If they win, they'll have the same record, but Baltimore will have the edge because of the head-to-head battle, which they won last week. So that doesn't really mean much. I'll take Pittsburgh as well, man. I don't really trust Baltimore. I don't think they're a playoff team, really. I just don't think they're that good.
I think Baltimore is a playoff team. They're just not a Super Bowl team. I think they're a wild card team. I think that's better.
So you think they're...
I think they're a wild card team. I don't think they will get there because I really, truly believe they will have 3 teams from the AFC West in the playoffs.
Well, then they can't be a wild card team.
I think they have... I think they have the potential to be one.
Potential, yeah, but they'll have potential, but I think they'll fall off. I still don't trust this team. I don't think they're that good.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well,
I wouldn't be surprised. They had trouble running the football yesterday against the Browns run defense, and that should tell you something there.
All right. Well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, they will be facing Dallas next. Tough matchup. But we'll take our first break right here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. After the break, we'll talk about the rest of the games here in the NFL slate schedule this week, preview the top ones, Dallas and Pittsburgh, among others. We'll be right back, guys, right after the break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back into the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. Let's run down the schedule here. So Sunday, I should say, the Green Bay Packers will go into Nashville to take on the Tennessee Titans. Just sort of breaking news, Clay Matthews will miss his third straight game with a hamstring injury for Green Bay on that defensive side. They really, really need him. They just have not been able to put any sort of pass rush on teams lately. The Minnesota Vikings will go on the road to take on the Washington Redskins at 4-3-1. Kind of an interesting game there. The Chicago Bears, playing a little better recently, will go on to face Tampa Bay at Raymond James Stadium. The Kansas City Chiefs will go on the road to take on the Carolina Panthers, who have won 2 in a row. We'll preview that game a little later. Another game we'll preview is the Battle of the Birds. The Atlanta Falcons go on the road to Lincoln Financial Field to take on the 4-4 Philadelphia Eagles. The LA Rams go into MetLife Stadium and take on the New York Football Jets. A battle of literally a couple of the worst quarterback situations I could possibly think of right now in the league. So, had to see how that plays out. The Denver Broncos will take on the New Orleans Saints in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. The Saints playing a lot better recently. Big win last week in San Francisco. The first place Houston Texans will battle the last place Jacksonville Jaguars at Everbank Field in Jacksonville. The Miami Dolphins go on the road to San Diego to take on the Chargers. The Cowboys will go into Hinesville to take on the Steelers. Probably the game of the week. We'll talk about that just after this. The San Francisco 49ers will take on the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. Our Sunday night matchup is a rematch of the Super Bowl a couple of years back. The Seattle Seahawks at 5-2-1 will take on the 7-1 New England Patriots. And Monday night, we have the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Giants in New York.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Monday night game on Monday.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
but
let's go into this weekend.
You did say Cowboys versus Steelers is game of the week. I have to agree because this is could be a very exciting matchup. You got the young rookies over there in Dallas going ahead against this pretty opportunistic, or whatever how you say it.
Opportunistic
defense of the Steelers. And then what I mean by that, I feel like Dak Prescott's going to find some holes in that defense. Ezekiel Elliott's going to find some holes to run through this defense. The Steelers can score, so maybe this can potentially be a shootout, so to speak. I expect a really big game from Dak, Ezekiel Elliott, Big Ben, pretty much the whole Steelers offense in general. This game is actually tough for me to pick, to be honest with you. It's really tough for me to pick because, it is at Heinz Field. That is a tough place to play for anybody. And especially for a young rookie quarterback like Dak Prescott or Ezekiel Elliott in general. It's a young Cowboys team. But we have seen the Cowboys play in hostile environments before, most notably Green Bay. And, and we've seen them in prime time, when the spotlight was on them. So we've seen the Cowboys perform on a high level. But I do think, the Steelers have to get back into the AFC North, division here. And if they can't fall back under 500, if they want to win the division. So I'm going to have to take the Steelers. I think they're going to go get a win here, get over 500, and keep pace with the Baltimore Ravens for first place.
I agree with you. I do like Pittsburgh in this game. I think it's going to be a close game, as you mentioned. I think the real determining factor here is going to be just how long the Cowboys can maintain drives and keep this high-powered Steeler offense on the sidelines. Like I said, I don't take too much into their performance last week. I think Big Ben was really rusty coming off of a couple of weeks without even throwing the ball around practicing. So I expect him to have a good game this week against a Dallas defense. Well, let's face it, it's not good, but they're never on the field because their offense controls the ball for so long. So I think that's going to be the difference is can Dallas withstand long drives, long touchdown drives, 5-6 minutes? Because in reality, a 5-6 minute drive is really maybe even 15-20 minutes with commercials and stoppages, reviews, so they can get that defense on the other side of the football for Dallas rested. So I think that's going to be the determining factor in the game. I think if Pittsburgh can jump out to an early lead, get a couple of touchdowns early, I think that'll be a good thing. Dallas, not really one of those teams built to come from behind because they control the ball so well. Ezekiel Elliott needs 109 yards to be the first 1,000-yard rusher of the year. I think that's a good possibility he gets that. I'll take the Steelers in a close game, though. I'll say maybe like 28-24, 27-23, somewhere around that edge.
I say 31-28.
Okay, I think if there's one thing that hurts Dallas in this game, I think there might be a little bit of a distraction with this whole Tony Romo thing going on, because now you have Romo, who is considered healthy but is not expected to be activated. That raises some questions to me as to why. If he's healthy and you're not having him active, that doesn't make any sense. Whether you're going to start him or not, is he a better backup than Mark Sanchez? Absolutely. And you'd rather have him be your backup than Mark Sanchez. Obviously, you hope nothing happens to Prescott, but things do happen. So why would you not at least have him activated? That raises some questions to me. Maybe they're trying to dodge a distraction by saying, oh, Romo's activated now. Who's going to be your starter? And you have to basically make a decision and have these guys weigh their options and everything. So I think they're trying to avoid that. But in a way, they're making a distraction in their own mind by making him not active when he's healthy. So I think that could be weighing on some of the players' minds. A tough road game, as you mentioned. Heinfield's not an easy place to play. So I'll take the Steelers. I think they need this victory a lot more than Dallas does. So
yeah,
I'll take Pittsburgh for that reason.
And getting back to the Romo thing, if Romo happen to be active, Prescott's still the quarterback of this team.
I agree. He should be, and I think he will. But you're going to have to make that decision, and it's been one that's not been easy to make all year. You had Jerry Jones talking about Romo is going to be our guy when he's healthy, and Dak Prescott saying it's Romo's team, and now he's saying it's my team, and now they're not so sure on who would be starting. So I think they kind of want to avoid that distraction. That's why they're not activating him, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, if he's healthy, why is he not on the field? Why is he not at least on the sideline? Why is he not in a jersey? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, don't make sense to me at all. Another game that I actually had my eye on, I think that could be a potential shootout, maybe, could be the Falcons at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Falcons' defense, they're pretty average to below average at times. They are still sound when they need to be. But I think this is a really good opportunity for the Eagles, to get back on track. This young Eagles team, I think this is a perfect game for Carson Wentz to kind of get back to the Carson Wentz we saw for the first 3 games. And the Falcons, they're going to score points. I kind of think this game is going to be pretty good. I think it's going to be really good.
I agree with you. The Eagles are a much better team at home than they are away. But Carson Wentz has kind of come back to earth this last, I'll say, quarter of the season. He started off so well, 3-0, and now they've really dropped off 1-4 since then. So Atlanta riding high, really one of the most balanced offenses in the league, a good rushing attack to go with Matt Ryan, who's a legit MVP candidate. You have Julio Jones, who's playing the best wide receiver position in football right now. I'll take Atlanta. I think they have a little bit of an edge because they played last Thursday, so they have a couple extra days of rest. Like I said, the Eagles are a different team at home. I think it'll be a close game, and their defense will keep them in the game. But I just really can't trust Carson Wentz in this offense right now. As bad as the Falcons' defense is, I just can't trust Wentz in the offense. There's not that many playmakers. He's making bad decisions, turning the ball over, missing high. So I'll take Atlanta on the road. I think I'm not really sold on them, but I'm sold on their offense, that's for sure. And I think that's what's going to win them the game.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Falcons as well, just because, the Eagles, they're just not – they don't have any playmakers at all. They don't have that go-to guy right now, which is something I think the Eagles front office is going to address in the draft. But yeah, I'm going to take the Eagles as well. And I got another game that I'm really very interested in. And that is the Denver Broncos at the New Orleans Saints at the Superdome. I think this is going to be a pretty good game. You got a really good defense, even though they're hurt. Going against a really good offense. We've seen the Saints offense, what they did to the Niners defense, but that's not saying much. They did score a lot of points. We see the Broncos defense. They allow 30 points to the Oakland Raiders. But, the Oakland Raiders, they look like to be kind of like for real. That was kind of like the breakout game for them. The Broncos defense did allow 3 rushing touchdowns to Latavius Murray. So I kind of think that's going to be huge. The run defense is going to be huge in this game for the Broncos because, you got 2 running backs for the Saints that are going to get a lot of time, a lot of carries. Tim Hightower, Mark Ingram, they're going to get a lot of carries. I do think this is a very good opportunity. They're going to get their opportunities to score. But I think I might have to get the Broncos on this one. I think they're going to get back on track in this game. I think they are.
I agree with you. A lot of the same reasons. The Broncos' run defense is not too good, but the Saints, Hightower and Ingram played really good, especially last week. Ingram had a monster game.
They play the Niners.
Right, and the Saints are still a passing team. They still have Drew Brees. They're still going to try and sling it around the yard. I don't see them really running that much. Denver did not have Aqib Talib last week. We'll have to see if he'll play this week. Still not really sure. I think that'll be really key as he battles like Willie Snead, Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, this high-powered Saints passing attack. And the Saints' offensive line is not nearly what the Raiders were, so I think that creates more opportunities for Von Miller and some of this pass rushing core for Denver to get to Drew Brees. I'll take Denver on the road. Like you said, they need to try and find a way to get back on track. They're still a really solid team. They're the world champs, for Christ's sake. And they need to compete in the AFC West, which is competitive. Denver at 6-3, they're third in the division. So they need to try and get some wins. And I'm still not sold on the Saints. Their defense is still poor. As bad as Denver's offense is, I think they can create something because New Orleans' defense is just that bad. So I think this is actually a good opponent for them to try and get back on track for the offensive side of the ball because the Saints are so bad on defense. So I'll take Denver. I think it'll be a close game, low-scoring game. I'll say maybe like 27-24, 27-23. I'll take Denver, though. I just have more faith in them.
Okay. I agree. And, we got the Seahawks as well going to Foxborough Sunday night facing the Patriots. This is going to be, I think it's going to be a really great game as well. The Seahawks, their offense looks like they got back on track, so to speak, on Monday night. Russell Wilson looks he looks healthier. I wouldn't say he's completely healthy. He did throw more from the pockets, which I think is huge. But the running game for the Seahawks wasn't really there versus the Bills, even though that was a good run defense. I do think the Seahawks running attack is going to kind of make a comeback this week versus the Patriots. But the Patriots are like the most flawless team I've ever seen this year. And I think the Patriots are going to win. There's no denying that. The Patriots are just straight flawless.
Tom Brady at home Sunday night with 2 weeks to prepare, coming off of a bye week. That just spells disaster for Seattle.
Exactly.
I realize they're 5-2-1, a good solid record. Probably should be 6-2, honestly. But New England
or 5-3. They could be 5-3 too.
New England are just on another level than really any other team in the league this year. It's like you have New England, you have a couple of teams like Dallas, Seattle. Maybe you'll throw in Oakland, and then you have everybody else.
No, this is how I see it. You got New England and everybody else. That's how I see it.
Kind of. Like I said, you have New England, who are by far the class of the league. And then you have a few teams that are pretty good. And then you have kind of everybody else. I feel like Seattle's kind of like that step above everybody else, but they're not New England. They're going on the road, West Coast to East Coast, to face Tom Brady with 2 weeks to prepare for this game on Sunday night. I don't see it happening. Seattle's offense is still so questionable. Their offensive line's terrible. They can't run the ball. They don't have too many playmakers. Jimmy Graham's had a good season, but I think New England will have a lot of opportunity to get to Russell Wilson and stop the run as well. They still want to run the ball, Seattle, and they're not doing it. And Tom Brady has success against Seattle. Look what he did to them in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. He knows how to dink and dunk his way down the field against this good, solid defense for the Seahawks. I like New England, man. I don't really think this game is even going to be competitive. New England just is not in competitive games. They just kill everybody. Tom Brady looks like he's a 27-year-old veteran just right in the prime of his career, and he's 39 years old. I don't know. This guy a robot. He's going to be playing till he's like 50. He doesn't look like he's slowing down at all. So I like New England all day.
Yeah, I'm going to take New England too. There's no other way about it.
There's a lot of other great games out here. I mean, I think that Kansas City and the Panthers could be an interesting game. The Panthers trying to fight still for a playoff spot at 3-5. It's going to be a big game. Kansas City still trying to battle in the AFC West at 6-2. It's crazy to think that the AFC West. I really think they're getting all three playoff teams in.
I think they are. I think they're going to have 3 playoff teams.
And that's such a good division, and even the NFC East, a really good division as well. Which a couple of years ago you would have said the NFC least because they're such a bad division. But now really all four teams, Washington, Philly, New York, and Dallas, all really competitive. So we'll have to see what happens this weekend. The Bills, the Lions, the Colts, and the Raiders are on bye weeks this week, so you will not be able to watch them. But next week you'll see the Raiders in Mexico City, which could be kind of interesting. So
yeah, there's a couple of Raiders players at the Kings and Lakers game last night. They showed them on the Jumbotron.
Well, yeah, they're on a bye, so they gotta do something with their time.
Yeah, I was like, okay, all right, I see.
Showing some support, making the trip out to Sacramento. It's obviously great. But we'll take our last break. After the break, we'll talk some college football real quick before we end the show right here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. And now it's time to get talking about some action in college football this weekend.
Definitely.
You know what? When you look at this weekend slate of games, there's not really a lot of eye-popping matchups. We do have a couple of top 25 games, and we got LSU versus Arkansas at 4, Pacific time on ESPN, and then we got the Pac-12 matchup, number 4 Washington trying to keep pace, trying to keep the spot there in the college football playoffs at home against USC. But before we get into a couple of these games here, we had a top 25 upset last night. We had Duke defeating North Carolina 28-27.
This is not Duke, North Carolina basketball,
no.
But still,
football.
This was a good matchup.
Yeah.
Duke had the lead by 1 going into the fourth quarter, and both teams don't even score in the quarter, but Duke just holds on. Okay, Jeremiah. So North Carolina were ranked number 17. Did you see this last night?
I didn't watch this.
No. But just this. Okay, listen to this. For the past 8 weeks now, the team that has been ranked number 17 has lost.
Really?
Wow. I'll tell you next week. If I have number 17 ranking, I'm scared.
Wow, that is so. Wow, that's a good stat right there.
That's like, you know how they say like unlucky number 13. Well, in college football this year, it's 17 because,
really,
like I said, the last 8 weeks, number 17 in the country has lost.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, yet again, North Carolina lose to Duke, a game they should not have lost. Duke 4-6 now; they get their first conference win. North Carolina 5-2 in the conference, 7-3 overall. Bad result, but it's that number 17 curse, man. It's
but
there.
I still see North Carolina going to the ACC championship game. Again, and they're probably going to face Clemson because the coastal division of the ACC is pretty weak. You do got Virginia Tech. Maybe they might make a run for the coastal division. But to be honest with you, Virginia Tech or North Carolina are not going to win the ACC because of Clemson.
You know what? Honestly, what I would do with these conference title games, I hate how we have these divisions, like North and South or East and whatever, Coastal, whatever. I would just put the top 2 teams and let them battle it out. Seriously, okay. Would you much rather watch a Louisville-Clemson ACC title game or North Carolina and Clemson?
I'd rather watch a Louisville-Clemson title game.
Put the best 2 teams in the conference in the title game.
But you can't really do that. That's the whole point of these divisions.
I get it, but do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I really do agree with you. But that's the reason why we have these divisions in the first place,
right?
And I don't see this format not going away anytime soon. It's unfortunate. A lot of these conferences in college football, you have like 2 or 3 good teams in one division,
and the other division is just total crap.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
How it is.
It's how it always is. Like, I mean, I guess there's exceptions. You know, sometimes the other team that's not supposed to win steps up and gets a victory, competes and all. But I don't know. I just much rather have it that way. Like, have the conference title come down to the best 2 teams, regardless of if you're in the North Division or the South Division, whatever. But I mean, like you said, you don't see it changing anytime soon. Neither do I. So another team that got a win last night within the top 25 is number 15 Utah. They overcome a 13-point deficit in the first quarter to defeat Arizona State 49-26. A big night on the ground from Joe Williams, 181 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. And Jeremiah, the Broncos of Western Michigan remain undefeated with a 37-21 victory over Kent State. The number 21 Broncos certainly moving their way up with a victory on Thursday.
Yeah, that game happened on Tuesday.
Well, exactly. You know what I mean? Still winning. You know what I mean? They're going to be moving their way up.
Yeah.
So,
but I got to ask you about this because Anthony, Alex, and I talked about this game briefly, I think on Wednesday's show. We were talking about Kent State's mascot, the Golden Flashes.
I like it.
What do you think about that?
I like it. Yeah. It makes me think of...
What the heck is a Golden Flash?
Well, if you look at their thing, it looks like a bird. So I'm sure it's like an eagle that flies really fast or something. But the Golden Flashes, it's great. I mean, I love these like out there, unique... Like, I hate how every team is the Wildcats or the Tigers.
I know that does get kind of played out.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, every team is the Wildcats. The Arizona Wildcats, Kentucky Wildcats, LSU Tigers, the Auburn Tigers. Like, everybody
the Clemson Tigers.
Everybody is the same mascot. I like a little variety, you know what I mean? Like, it's good. I mean, I don't mind.
I just think it's funny.
It's kind of funny. I mean,
the Kent State Golden Flashes.
It's good. Or you have Arizona State Spartans, Michigan State Spartans, or Arizona Sun Devils. I'm sorry, but you have a lot of Spartans and Longhorns is unique. I like that. Bears. There's a ton of Bears, so I like the uniqueness of it. I don't mind.
There's 2 teams with Trojans, USC and Troy.
Right, and I don't really mind.
Well, at least you got the Bruins.
I kind of like the Buckeyes best.
I like the Buckeyes. I
like that one.
I do like the Longhorns name. I don't know about the team, but that's a different topic for different days.
Hey, we'll see. They are a home favorite against West Virginia this week, who just have 1 loss in the conference. But by far, Jeremiah, the best game of the weekend is out in the Pac-12. Number 20 USC on the road in Washington to face the number 4 ranked Huskies, who sit undefeated. Washington's an 8.5-point favorite. I think the game is going to be closer than that. I still see them winning. USC have been really, really good since switching to Sam Darnold at cornerback, just losing that 1 game to Utah. So I think they'll have success moving the ball. Myles Gaskin and John Ross making some good plays for Jake Browning's offense out there in Washington. I think they'll win the game. Washington are a good team. I don't think they're an elite team, but we don't really know much about them. Their best win is against Utah, a game where they barely won. They had to return a punt with 3 minutes left to even put them in a winning situation. They were tied at the time, obviously winning by the punt return. So I don't really know much about Washington, but at the same time, don't really know much about USC either. So I'll take Washington for that reason.
Yeah, we don't know anything about these teams. We don't know if – we're still questioning if Washington is for real or not, and we're like literally 3 or 4 weeks ago in the season. I do agree with you that Washington is not an elite team, but they're a very good team. I do think they have a really good chance at the playoffs. But I don't think they're going to get there because I do think somehow Ohio State's going to climb in there.
Even if they're undefeated, do you think they'll get jumped out?
Maybe, but it's tough to say. I think this is a game for the Huskies that they can potentially get upset. I can see an upset alert because they're probably going to win against the Sun Devils next Saturday, so I'm not even going to talk about that. So this is one of the two games that worry me if I would be a Washington Husky fan. The game against USC this weekend and the Apple Cup against Washington State because Washington State can score some points. I know Alex is looking forward to that, the co-host here at the network. But I'm going to have to go with Washington. I do think that win against Utah was impressive because at the end of the day, Utah is a good team. They're probably going to play each other in the Pac-12 championship. It's either going to be Utah or Colorado. But I do think Washington is going to win this game. They are a great team. I'm still kind of not sold on being an elite team because I said if this team happens to get to the playoffs, they're going to get steamrolled by Alabama. And don't get me wrong, Washington has a pretty good defense. Alabama's offense is really nothing to get excited about, to be honest with you. They do have a running game. They don't have a quarterback.
They have a quarterback that runs. You just can't really throw Jalen Hurts.
They never, historically, Alabama hasn't had they haven't had a passing attack. And which in college you really don't need.
I mean, A.J. McCarron did good things.
He did okay. But Alabama does have a good defense, so I do think potentially it can be a good matchup. But Alabama has been such a powerhouse over the good part of the last decade. I think they would get steamrolled by Alabama. And I'm talking about Washington. But
I would agree.
But they are a good team. They are a good team. Nothing to take away from them. You never know. I think they can practically shock the college football world. I don't know. It could happen.
I think the difference in this game is that they're at home. That's why I like them so much. If they were on the road, I think they'd be a lot tougher.
I think that would worry me. If this game was at the Coliseum, I think I would have took USC in this game. Because when you're in a hostile environment like that and when USC is ranked and they've been on a really good winning streak and you're playing against a ranked opponent, I think that would have had a good atmosphere at the Coliseum if this game were to be there. But the fact that this game is at home for Washington, you're going to have to give the edge to Washington. Of course you do. The number 4 team in the country is going to be atmosphere week in, week out. As long as this team is good, you have to go with Washington.
I agree. Our other matchup within the top 25 is in the SEC. We have number 24 LSU against number 25 Arkansas. I like LSU in this game. I think under Ed Orgeron, they're playing a lot better. Last week, they got shut out, but they only lost 10-0. They were in that game the whole entire way against Alabama, who have really not been in a competitive game all year long. They've been steamrolling everybody, with the exception of maybe Ole Miss. They were down early in that game and then came back late and won. So I'll take LSU. I think they sort of have shored up a lot of things on their offensive side since bringing in Ed Orgeron as their interim head coach. And he's obviously coaching to try and become that permanent head coach next year, so he's still fighting for stuff. Leonard Fournette and the rest of this offense, I think they'll get it done against Arkansas. I'll take LSU on the road.
Yeah, I'm going to take LSU too. Why not?
just
Why not?
Arkansas is a good team.
No,
they play really
team.
hard.
I think they're improving, and I like what I'm seeing from them. But they have a lot of cupcake wins, and they're in the SEC. At LSU, they did get completely shut out by Alabama last week, but we kind of expected that with being a defensive game. But Leonard Fournette has played really well outside of the Alabama game since he's came back from injury. His first game back, he had averaged 100 yards a carry. That's what it felt like to me. So I do expect a good game or a great game for Fournette there. I'm going to have to take LSU. I just think they're just a better offensive team.
I think it means more for LSU because Orgeron is trying to become that coach. Since they're
playing. I think they're playing for him.
I agree. They have really made a change. Going into the game last week, they were averaging over 40 points. Obviously, it take a dive when you don't score at all, but they're playing a lot better. I mean, there's like you said, there's really not much on the schedule here, but there's definitely important games. Auburn are on the road against Georgia. Auburn, that one team in the SEC that might be able to throw a wrench in this whole playoff system if they can beat Alabama, because then they will be in the SEC championship game. Same thing with Wisconsin. They'll probably be facing the winner of Michigan and Ohio State, so they can maybe throw a wrench in there. So they're going to be trying to compete. They have a game against Illinois. I don't think they'll have any issue with that, but crazier things have happened. We've seen upsets pretty much every week now for the last few. You had A&M lose last week to Michigan State, who are playing Alabama this week.
Mississippi State.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Mississippi State. So they're playing Alabama this week, so you could have some sparks there. I don't really see it. I don't see Alabama really getting tested until the Iron Bowl against Auburn, but you never really know. It's still a tough opponent. Ohio State are on the road against Maryland. I don't think they'll really have any trouble there. Michigan against Iowa could be an interesting game. Iowa, such a good team last year. This year kind of really fallen off the rails. And they are at home against Michigan, so maybe you'll see some fireworks. I don't really think so. If I had to pick an upset this week, though, Jeremiah, I kind of like Minnesota on the road against Nebraska. I realize Nebraska is at home, and that's really good. They have a great home field, Memorial Stadium there in Lincoln. But Nebraska, a team that no one really thought was legit, in the last 2 weeks we've seen that. Losses to Wisconsin, and then last week getting absolutely killed 62-3 against Ohio State. So Minnesota at 7-2, they're not ranked, but they have the same record. So maybe they can go on the road and pick up a big win against a team that's just kind of feeling down in the dumps right now.
And Minnesota has been playing well this year too. They are 7-2, but they haven't really played anybody. That's probably why they're not ranked. They did lose to Penn State and Iowa. Iowa did start off the year ranked until that North Dakota State game. Penn State's not ranked because of the Ohio State win. So they're a good team, but I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I looked at their schedule, all their wins. They've beaten a lot of weaker teams in their conference. I just think I can't see it. I do think it's going to be a game for the Nebraska to get back on track. I think this is going to be it. I just can't see it. I'm sorry. I can't see it.
And then we look at Cal and Washington State. Okay, over-under on points in this game is 83. This game could easily get to 100, 110.
Oh, yeah.
Both these teams are capable of putting up a million points.
I expect that. And I think Cal could potentially upset Washington State for that reason.
Really
I think they could.
So?
I could because they can score points. I don't think they're going to win, but they could. I think Washington State. I think they've been kind of a little underrated this year, and I know they have 2 losses that are pretty bad. They do have a loss to Eastern Washington, FCS team, and they have another bad loss as well after that. But I think other than that, I think they've been kind of underrated a little bit. They put USC higher than Washington State.
And they weren't ranked last week.
Exactly. So
USC.
Exactly. USC wasn't ranked. Washington State has been ranked for 3 straight weeks. They haven't been able to move up. So I don't know what they got to do. And I understand that they start off the year 0-2. They had Eastern Washington and Boise State. Boise State is actually a legit team. Eastern Washington, FCS. But they're probably one of the best FCS programs, in the country.
But that's still a game you should be winning.
It's one of the best FCS programs in the country, so maybe.
I mean, Washington are still undefeated in the conference at 6-0, so I guess you have to put that into consideration. But I don't give Cal any chance, man. They might be able to score 40, but they're giving up 70. Their defense just literally, I don't think they can stop me and you.
So so you think this game's going to be Washington State 70?
I'll say
Cal 40.
Okay, last week it was, I don't know the exact score, but it was like Washington 69-26 or something, right? I would say Washington State, I'll say 63-35 for Cal. I'll say something along those lines. And I don't think they'll really be tested much. Washington State's at home, so I think that you just got to give them the edge. But we'll have to wait and see. Every week in college football, as I said, the last few, we've seen crazy upsets, and we'll have to see if more to come.
We didn't see that Mississippi State over Texas A&M victory at all. We didn't see it. We did not see it, no.
I agree with you, buddy. But on that note, we will end the show for today. We will be back on Monday to recap everything in the wide world of football, as well as preview the Monday Night Football matchup between the Bengals and the Giants. So for Alex and Anthony, who are not here, my name is Ben.
And I'm Jeremiah.
And we will be back on Monday to talk about football here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. I want to give a shout out to all the veterans here on Veterans Day. Thank you for serving and all the stuff you have done for us, all the freedoms you have helped provide for us here in the United States. And if you're in the UK for Remembrance Day, the same thing. Thank you for everything you guys have done for us, all you veterans. I appreciate it. I'm sure I speak on behalf of everybody, but I appreciate it, and thank you for all the stuff you do. So you guys have a good day, a good weekend, and we will be back on Monday right here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.